Hey everyone, I'm Evan.
And I'm Alex.
And today we are taking time.
We are taking the time to talk about things that are near and dear to us for a given value of dear.
Yeah, which, like, more often than, well, all the time seems to be superheroes. Because they're awesome.
Yeah, I can agree with that. So today we're talking about Dawn of Justice, aka Batman vs. Superman.
Yeah, why did they put V? Everyone else in the universe puts VS for versus. This is Batman v Superman.
Well, I don't know if this is actually why they do it, but when you're doing shorthand for a legal case, you put party v party. You never put versus.
Really?
That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, I work in a law firm, and yeah, I can confirm that every court case is always going to be X v Y.
Huh.
So I guess this is like their legal battle.
Okay. I mean, they did have a lot of talk about this is a democracy and such in there. I got kind of like episode 2 vibe with all the Senate hearings and whatnot.
I think it was episode 1.
Was it 1? Okay.
I mean, that's the one that everybody makes fun of for having a lot of political government like crap.
Yeah.
I don't know. On topic.
Anyway, so yes, we've both seen it. I saw it yesterday. It's really fresh in my mind.
I saw it last week.
Yeah.
But
and you were telling me that you liked it. Okay, we both liked it. I liked it.
I liked it a lot, actually.
But you were really saying that you were fighting people all week who hated it, who didn't like it at all.
Well, like I don't know too many people who personally hate it. It's mostly just that a lot of critics, both big name and little name, just trying to just cash in on the presence of this thing, how visible it is.
Okay.
Just critical reception was really terrible, and a lot of people nowadays will just kind of take the critics at their word and go, "Oh well, this guy in the New Yorker didn't like it, and he clearly, he clearly is an opinion of note when it comes to people dressed like bats and flying men."
Yeah, I mean, that bugs me too, how people just take the word of the critic as, like, word of God, but...
And it bugs me because it seems like people only do this for bad movies. Or people only do it when it's harmful to movies I like.
Yeah.
Like, everyone will tell you, "Oh man, the Transformers movie is so bad," but everyone will still go see it anyway. Because... I don't know. I don't know why people are still watching those movies. But,
yeah.
But yeah, like people really hated this. I got out of the theater, and I stopped by Chick-fil-A to pick up lunch with my family, and I text our friend Amber immediately, like, "Oh man, Amber, like I just saw Batman vs Superman, and it was really good. I really liked it."
Yeah.
And then she texted me back saying, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so then she replied by saying, "You are literally the first person who's told me anything positive about the movie."
Yeah, and I mean, it's, okay, like we say, we both liked it. I liked it, but you really loved it, so...
I did.
Before we talk about things that I found a little off with the movie, presumably, you... have nothing but shining goldness to say about it.
Well, no, and
okay.
This is a thing that I feel is kind of a problem in that there seems to be this weird misconception where people think that if they like something, it is without flaws.
Yeah.
And so that's why,
That's why people get mad.
Yeah, that's why people...
when freaking Superman beats Goku.
Well, yeah. That's why people get mad when Superman beats Goku. That's why people get mad when Undertale beats, Ocarina of Time for greatest game ever. Like, people take it as a personal attack. And, I mean, really, when you get down... Like, there are no perfect movies. There are no perfect books. There are no perfect games. Like, everything is going to have flaws. And if you look hard enough at something... you can find a flaw in it, and having a flaw is not indicative of the entire product being bad.
Right. It's like
we've played a lot of games in this channel that are very dear to me. Partly because I'm a diva and we do things my way or the highway. But I have gone to great lengths to point out things that I don't like about them, and you've complained about them, and you've had some valid complaints about World of Illusion and Fantasy Star and whatnot. And that doesn't diminish the fact.
No,
that
yeah, they're still really good games.
That doesn't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yes, I do have complaints about this movie. I'm sure I'll sustain some of the things that you complained about for this movie. But
right.
Overall, I think this is probably the best DC, in my opinion. This is the best DC movie.
Well, I mean, it's a heck of a lot better than Green Lantern. I think.
I kind of like Green Lantern too, to be honest. Not nowhere near as much as this one. I think I was just less critical of it than other people.
Yeah.
But before we digress into back to Batman.
I was going to say, why don't you, before I get to what I thought was kind of off-putting with it.
Okay.
You presumably have a much shorter list of things than me because you liked it more.
Right.
So what would you say are its shortcomings? Quickly.
Okay. Well, it's not really a shortcoming of the movie. It's kind of a personal thing. There's the bit where Wonder Woman is looking at the different folders of the other metahumans that are going to become the Justice League.
Yeah.
And I saw them, and like my play-by-play reaction was, oh, okay, that's a Wonder Woman symbol. Oh, okay, these are all. Every folder has the symbol of the character, that they're associated with.
Right. I got.
Who the hell is that guy on the far right who would turn out to be Aquaman later on?
Yeah.
Because Aquaman doesn't really have like a.
I thought they'd use like a trident.
Yeah. He doesn't really have anything as iconic as the S or the bat or the W or whatever.
Yeah.
And then my other knee jerk was like, oh shit, is that Green Lantern symbol? Holy shit, is Green Lantern going to be in the Justice League? And it turned out to be Cyborgs.
That's I was going to say, is that Cyborg?
That is Cyborg, yeah.
So, okay.
When DC started the New 52, they rebooted the universe, of course, and they bumped up Cyborg from being on the Teen Titans to the Justice League. Partly because I believe they got rid of Martian Manhunter, and they needed someone to fill a spot. And let's be real here. They wanted a black guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of.
I want him to say Booyah.
I sincerely hope he does. That would be great.
That's kind of awesome.
So that was a very minor nitpick for me.
Okay.
I'm trying to think.
Was it nitpicky stuff, or was it like
not really
large movies?
I do feel that whoever's writing these things should probably have like their Bible and their copy of Paradise Lost taken away from them, because they go a little too far on the Jesus analogy.
I mean, okay, I'm going to get to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we should come back to that. I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head. I'm sure I'll come up with something when I'm responding to your criticisms.
Okay.
So let's just go with what did you think?
So I mean, okay, first off, they had. I thought the movie wanted to explore a lot of very lofty themes, and okay, like you were saying with the whole biblical analogy, they had like one of them, for instance, was particularly Lex, who character in the movie for me.
Yeah, Lex really likes to reference the Paradise Lost stuff.
Yeah, but so I thought they were going to go with. I was like, oh, okay, they're asking the philosophical question, like, do demons come from the bowels of hell, or is it like in the Bible? Are they disguised as angels of light and come to us out of the sky? I didn't
really take that as an actual theme they're exploring. I think that was just Lex being Lex.
Okay.
And kind of grandstanding and being theatrical.
But it's things like that.
Well, and also vaguely alluding to the fact that apparently they're hinting pretty heavily that Darkseid and his buddies from Apocalypse are going to be coming and invading at some point.
By the way, this talk contains spoilers.
Wow! I never would have guessed that. Holy shit!
We should have We said that at the beginning. You weren't paying attention.
Yeah, you weren't paying attention. Asshole.
Seriously. Okay. So that. Okay, so that was one where I thought, okay, that could have been a cool thing to take a philosophical look at. Like another one being the very classic, like, with great power comes great responsibility, and if you're all powerful, what is the right thing? What should you be doing? Should you have rules for you? And I thought, okay, that's another one. Maybe they'll take a look at that. And with things like this, I thought it went they were rushing through the movie so quick that they'd like bring up an interesting theme, and then say like a line about it, and then, oh, okay, the next thing's happening. We said it. Like, let's go.
Yeah, you know? I get the feeling there's probably a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor for this movie.
Yeah, like a lot.
Just because yeah, you're right. They really did spend a lot of time developing themes like that, and then they kind of dropped off for the punching towards the end. Which, to be fair, that's what people are there for.
Right. I wanted to see superheroes punch each other.
Yeah.
You know, but like when you take you know, it's pretty much universally accepted that like Marvel Studios and Avengers like did a really good job and like did it right with the superheroes. You know?
Right.
And so, yeah, you want to see superheroes punching, but if you're going to kind of drop a little tidbit, like if you're going to stick a sign there that says like lofty themes this way, and you start walking there and then, oh sorry, blocked off for construction, you know, like it's kind of disappointing. And when that happens like 2 or 3 times, you know, I was like, well, you know, maybe you could have slowed it down a bit.
I agree.
Pacing was fast. TLDR, pacing was really fast.
I agree, but I also think your average moviegoer isn't going to be disappointed that they held off on discussing the the importance of Superman's moral compass, over him punching Batman a few more times.
Yeah.
So it is probably a necessary evil that they had to cut, that potentially really interesting stuff in favor of more punching.
Yeah. And I mean, it kind of leads me to my next thing that I thought was, in addition to like rushing through the kind of thematic things, they sort of just rushed through everything, every concrete thing as well. Like they had a lot of things that they give you a little blurb. It was like, I guess I should get to this in a different order. Like, in this canon, this new canon, not connected to the Dark Knight trilogy, which I liked,
So, that trilogy had too much baggage.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, it did, and I mean, let's be real. Jeremy Irons is a far superior Alfred than Michael Caine.
Yeah.
I said it. Fight me, nerds.
So, I mean, I guess on a rather technical standpoint, this is a new canon.
Right.
So, it's kind of like, okay, I guess I'm drawing a lot of parallel to Avengers because it's the only.
Well,
it's the only way to compare apples to apples.
It's kind of impossible not to draw a comparison to the only like big superhero franchise
that was like successful.
Yeah, that's really
theatrically.
Yeah, that's really pulled this off of Main Street.
Yeah, and so with Avengers they had here's a movie about this guy.
Right.
Here's a movie about this guy. Sometimes multiple movies.
Right.
And they build and build and build, and then when you get to Avengers, you know who everyone is. And so you can see Avengers, and it's like, the groundwork has been laid for this.
Right.
In this canon, they said we're cutting off everything, which means they had a Superman movie, which they introduced Superman.
Right.
And then if they go straight to like, okay, we're making the Justice League, we all know who Batman is, okay, but just as a movie, like, procedurally, you've had an intro movie about Superman, and then in this movie, you're basically saying, oh, by the way, there's this rich guy who dresses as a bat and doesn't like Superman, and now they're gonna like fight. And if you don't know about comic books, you're like, who is this now with his very dark attire and vehicles, and like, why is he so like psychologically damaged about shit?
Well,
and yeah,
in a perfect world, DC would have done the same thing Marvel did. They would have done a Superman movie, a Batman movie, a Wonder Woman movie.
I thought they were going to.
That was the. I mean, well, they are still doing a Wonder Woman movie.
Are they? Okay, because when they did Superman, I was like, oh neat, they're doing Superman. Now they'll do Batman. Now they'll do Wonder Woman and the Flash, and then
I saw it at the ArcLight, and after the movie they showed a little interview. At the end, and they were exclusively talking about the making of the Wonder Woman movie.
Okay.
So presumably they're going to expand her thing there, but DC took a shortcut with this one, and I think honestly, I think it was the right thing to do, all things considered, because you don't need to tell people who Batman is.
Right. Okay.
You need to tell people who Iron Man is. You need to tell people who Thor is. You know.
Yeah.
You probably need to tell more than a few people who Captain America is, because a lot of people don't know who he is beyond the whole. Well, he's that guy with the shield, right?
Yeah.
You know.
He throws it. Right.
Yeah. So
I know him.
So
yeah.
Marvel had both the luxury of time, you know, being able to do that, and also it was an imperative for them to establish, you know, who these heroes are, because Marvel. I know this sounds like I'm being kind of a dick by saying it, but Marvel heroes just are not as iconic as DC heroes. This is a fact.
They're not.
You know,
like
everybody knows who Superman is.
It's like Mario and Coke and Superman. Yeah,
exactly. Everybody knows who Superman is. Everybody knows who Batman is.
Yeah.
Everybody knows their origins.
Yeah.
I would say Spider-Man is arguably like also on that list. He's that other hero.
He's pretty OG. Though.
Yeah. If you make a reference, if you make a superhero parody or reference somewhere,
right,
you're gonna have a Spider-Man reference. Nobody needs you to explain it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
So Nolan already did these movies to, you know, which. I'm not going to say they made people aware of Batman, because Batman is always going to be one of DC's most popular characters. But those movies are still fresh in people's minds, so people know the important stuff about Batman.
Right.
He's rich. He's angry. He dresses like a bat.
Yeah.
You know. He beats up poor people.
And he's a ninja. Oh wait.
Yeah. Yeah. Batman is a ninja usually.
Yeah.
Usually.
Right.
But
I liked how that was great. Sorry, sidebar, but I started counting after a while of how many walls Batman just busts through like the Kool-Aid Man and like took out guys.
I love that. That was awesome.
I was like, oh, he's Batman. He's gonna I wonder how he's gonna sneak up on this. He's gonna come from the shadows. He's gonna swing down. He's like, boom, oh yeah, and, knock the guy out. I was like, Superman, is that you?
I love that, and we're going to come back to that, because I feel that needs discussing. But,
right.
but you know, but on point. What I'm saying, you know. So you don't need to re-educate people as to who Batman is, you know. So DC just took the logical conclusion. Well, we got a movie establishing our Superman, because our Superman in this movie does have some pretty significant deviations for mainstream.
Yeah, there's the whole Anyway,
Batman's still pretty samey. You can infer that a lot of mainstream comic stuff has already happened to Batman. He already lost his Robin,
right.
Presumably Jason Todd.
Yeah, and he's already aged a bit.
And that's well, I mean, maybe I should get onto that later. But I actually really liked that we're dealing with old Bat here.
I like old Bat better than yeah.
Well. Okay, I guess you might as well. I guess that was pretty much everything I was going to say. So, I've seen a lot of people complaining about this Batman.
Right.
I mean, a lot of them I feel are still just complaining on the principle that it's Ben Affleck playing Batman. Yeah. And I've always thought that was a really stupid thing for people to get, for people to be butthurt about. Ben Affleck's a great actor. He has been in more stuff than the bad movies that everybody brings up. Yeah. Gigli is not the extent of his career.
Don't watch that.
Yeah. Daredevil is not... He wasn't even a bad Daredevil.
Daredevil was alright.
Well, I just mean, Affleck as Daredevil wasn't even, offensive. Daredevil was a bad movie because it was bad writing and bad casting and, you know... production... It was a bad movie because of production. He wasn't, a horrible Daredevil.
Yeah.
It's not what... It's not like what would have been done to Superman had they actually gotten Nicolas Cage to be Superman.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that was a thing. That was a thing that was going to happen.
Oh, man. That wouldn't have been... I kind of liked him as Ghost Rider, I'm ashamed to say, but...
He would be a terrible Superman.
Yeah, he would.
But, so a lot of the hate I've seen this movie has been because of Batman and people saying, this isn't Batman. This isn't how Batman acts.
It doesn't even matter who frickin' is playing Bruce Wayne. In my opinion, it's any freaking anybody can be DC Tony Stark.
Yeah.
It's when you put on the cowl how you do, and I think he did fine.
Yeah, Affleck handled the cowl just fine.
Yeah.
But the issue with Batman is, I mean, it's the issue you see in any long running franchise that gets retooled.
Yeah.
Superman has pretty much always been the same character.
Right, for like 40 years.
Longer than that.
How long has he been?
Superman came out in like 39.
Oh, God.
So,
okay. Yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember there was like freaking 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like 70 plus years,
okay,
75 years. But Batman, on the other hand, has been retooled heavily, many times.
Adam West was the best.
Adam West was a really good Bat. I unironically adore a lot of people do.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be like a hipster. Like a lot of people unironically adore.
No, I would watch Adam West Batman now. It's fantastic.
But you know, that's an issue that you get people who grew up with Batman the animated series and it's like, okay, this is the Batman,
right?
And then you have people who growing up. You know, you have people. Well, actually, I should say before that, you have people with the Keaton Batman.
Yeah.
You know, the Tim Burton.
Yeah.
This is Batman, and that was actually a massive retooling.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Even at the time, because Silver Age Batman was a pretty lighthearted, guy. He was legitimately best. He and Superman were best friends.
Yeah.
They were the world's finest. They were buddies.
Yeah. And
he did much less brooding, and he was a lot more lighthearted. And so Burton was the first one. Well, I think arguably, the comics were heading in that direction. Come to think of it,
were they getting darker?
Yeah, comics were getting darker because of Frank Miller's comics and everything.
You're right.
Watchmen introducing people to the idea that hey, you can have superheroes who are like really edgy and dark, and other comic book writers completely missing the the meaning of the message and just thinking, oh well, people like this because it's dark.
Yeah.
But Frank Miller heavily retools Batman. Tim Burton heavily retools Batman. Batman the Animated Series heavily retools Batman,
which was the best.
That's my favorite.
So good! Oh my gosh!
And then it just keeps going.
Yeah.
Fucking Batman Forever. Completely different kind of Batman. Batman and Robin, completely different kind of Batman.
Yeah.
It's Batman Beyond, which is in the same sort of vein as as the animated series, but you know what I'm saying. It's like Doctor Who. It's like Kamen Rider.
Yeah,
I'm trying. It's like Star Trek. Star Trek.
He's reborn. Yeah, reincarnated each generation.
Yeah, it's whichever one is your first introduction to the character. That is what you feel is, the definitive version.
I think we call it the Final Fantasy VII syndrome.
Pretty much. 7 and 10 and 13 are the big milestones for that. But it's... And so we have a lot of people complaining that Batman in this movie is not like Christian Bale's Batman.
Right.
And that's a good thing, because Christian Bale was a shitty Batman. I don't care if you think otherwise. Christian Bale was shitty Batman. Mostly because of the fucking voice. I cannot stand... The Batman voice Bale does is the dumbest thing. And it defined the character.
Yeah.
There are so many people who who define the character now by the I'm Batman.
Yeah.
And it's so dumb.
Where are the drums?
Yeah. People give this movie shit because Batman uses the voice changer. Yeah. And is that really any stupider?
Seriously, yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Because with the voice changer, it's like, okay, it's part of your costume.
Yeah.
You presumably add it in with your ridiculous technology.
Right.
But it's really dumb just to have a guy manually giving himself strep throat.
To the point where it's...
to intimidate them.
And speaking in a voice which is clearly... I mean, suspension of disbelief, but I'm pretty sure if somebody was talking to me like this...
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I wouldn't really believe that's their actual voice. And that's all on Bale. That is all on Bale for not delivering a more convincing Batman voice. It gets especially dumb when he continues to do that voice when he's talking to people who know he's Batman.
Yes.
It drove me crazy in the third movie when he's like talking to Alfred and other people, and I just kept waiting for someone to say, Bruce. I know it's you.
Cool,
you can just talk. You don't have to.
Look, when he puts on the cowl, all right, he's not Bruce Wayne.
He's a method actor.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
That's what we go.
Freaking, he's a ninja.
But yeah,
believe it.
So people didn't like Affleck for not being Bale.
Yeah,
and I think that's silly. I really like this interpretation.
Yeah, I like it better when he's not freaking doing this stupid.
Yeah. Well, it's not
frog throat.
It's not. Time. It's not even the voice. Like, there's a lot of stuff you have to just infer from what you see in the movie, because they don't go through. They don't have the time to go through and say, all right, so after Bruce's parents died, he learned to fight, and then he became Batman, and he had all his adventures. You just have to kind of pick up from context.
Yeah, I mean, it's on that same kind of note. Yeah, like you said, Batman's really established, and they kind of just assume the audience knows who Batman is, but just on, you almost can't do it because they didn't even try to do it. They didn't try to make it a movie, I think, that just can be in a vacuum. Like, it was kind of like...
Well, I assume at some point they're just going to go back and make, Batman Origins.
But, I mean, they're like, okay, you know who Batman is, but just within the movie itself, they didn't actually show enough on-screen tragedy that happened to him to justify his deep psychological, trauma. I disagree.
I disagree.
I mean, his parents died in front of him.
I heavily disagree, and here's why.
Okay.
So, what we know from the movie is origin is pretty much the same.
Parents got shot.
Yeah, Batman goes out with his parents for a night of fun. His parents get shot, and then he presumably becomes Batman. He presumably does some...
He runs off at the funeral.
Yeah.
Falls in the Cave of Bats, but that was a dream.
God, that was weird and dumb and went on for way too long.
I was like, okay, this is great. He's going to go into this cave, see some bats, and become Batman.
Yeah.
But then when he started floating, I was like, what the heck? And then they waited so long to say it was a dream that I was like, what are you doing? Like, I was just sitting there in my seat, writhing. I was like, what are you doing? Oh, it's a dream. Okay, it's fine.
I figured it was a dream as soon as he started flying. But
I don't know. I didn't put it past him that the Batnado was lifting him for a second.
I never seriously believed that, but apparently I physically reacted to it because like I said, I went to go see this movie with my dad, my sisters, and my sister's boyfriend.
Yeah.
And my little sister, at some point during the Bat Jesus thing, my little sister leaned over and said, "Alex, it's just a dream. Stay calm."
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
But the thing is, I wasn't mad. I was kind of laughing. I was like, seriously, they're really going with this. And I guess I might have been twitching a little bit, and she just misinterpreted my writhing.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
Because it was really funny. But not to get off tangent.
Anyway, yeah.
But yeah, so we can infer that parents died. Batman does some variation of his normal thing where he realizes Batman's crime. Gotham is a cesspool. Crime has to be. Criminals are a fearful and superstitious lots. He learns to fight. He bankrolls his bat gadgets. He starts fighting crime. We don't know how recent this is because the next time we see Batman is during the Kryptonian invasion from Man of Steel.
Right.
And I fucking love this scene. That scene is so cool. It is. Right off the bat, you got Batman. You got Bruce Wayne. He sees trouble a-coming.
Yeah.
And then he just commandeers the Bat SUV.
Yeah.
And he starts driving off towards the destruction.
Right.
So he can help people. And he starts phoning his business, telling his associate or whatever, get everybody out of the building. The city's going down.
Yeah.
And he's such a cool scene of just Bruce just trying to be a cool dude and help people out in a crisis.
Right.
And I feel that whole scene is really important to his characterization in this movie because this Batman, one of the big things that's different from between this Batman and every other Batman,
right,
is that this Batman had a pretty early on encounter with Superman, and it was the most horrifying encounter you could possibly have.
Okay.
The Kryptonian invasion is basically like 9/11's bigger, fatter, drunker brother.
Yeah.
It is just massive destruction on a huge scale. The city's coming down. They did a really good job of making this fight legitimately terrifying from an outsider's perspective.
Right.
Because all you're seeing are dudes flying around and buildings falling down and lasers coming out of places and all kinds of shit. Like, it's really cool. And so I feel like that goes a long way to justifying Batman's character in this movie, because but it has been fundamentally established that Batman is a very, very, very tiny fish in a very huge ocean.
Yeah.
That there are things out there that will completely wreck him.
Yeah.
And I think that goes along... And, I mean, that goes... Number one, that's pretty much all you need for his animosity towards Superman.
Okay.
I think that... I mean, aside from the horror, Superman was indirectly responsible for, that guy right before his eyes getting paralyzed, becoming a quadriplegic.
Okay, yeah, that. I mean... It was
probably being responsible for the death of that little girl that he managed to save.
Right.
Also at the base of the building, and just the general destruction. Batman doesn't know, the details of the fight. He doesn't know that Superman had no intention of the Kryptonians coming down.
Right.
He doesn't know that Superman tried his best to minimize the damage, and Superman had no experience whatsoever fighting people who were on his level. All he knows is Superman is this really powerful guy who fucked up and made a lot of people die. And anytime Superman wants, he can just do the exact same thing.
Right.
And that's why Batman is so xenophobic. That's why he's, so driven to...
I mean, it was, from my perspective, like, I was trying to timeline it, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And, so yeah, he's a kid, parents shot, fights crime for 20 years, is the Batman, right?
Right.
And then,
presumably,
like, out of nowhere, because, no one on Earth was... presumably out of nowhere, one day, some aliens come, and their fight, like, levels a city.
A major city.
Yeah, major city.
It's like if LA went down.
And then, Batman sees that, and he's like... He's amidst the destruction, and he's like, wow, these aliens showed up. And they broke, like, New York. Or,
they broke a city.
Yeah, they broke a metropolis. Or, and then goes, that is very dangerous. I don't know. I guess I had a harder time making, like... I mean, okay, Japan got nuked. Like...
Right.
Their city, like, got broked.
Right.
By the A-bomb. But, only, like, I don't think as a whole, they are like, oh, we must destroy all large, like, military powers. Or something.
Well, I mean, it depends on temperament and also, your capability.
But,
Japan's a tiny nation and had no way of combating, the U.S. the threat the U.S. posed with the bomb. And, I mean, there was no way they were going to be given the ability to do so. And Batman's a fighter. Japan is not a fighter.
It was it was kind of like that for me. It's like, okay, like, an alien fight levels a city... But it's sort of a jump to then go I need to, like, now pledge myself to taking these guys down.
No, that's his origin. Dude, origin of Batman is criminals killed my parents. I have to stop all criminals.
Well, yeah, but, like...
How is this out of character for him?
Well, no, but I mean... He knows, but I mean the whole movie up to that point, is like they're discussing, like, is Superman like a bad guy? And Superman has presumably said to people, "Look, I didn't want any of this to happen. I'm just trying to help everybody."
Well, I mean, other people are discussing that. Batman's view on Superman never wavers until the very end of the movie.
Well, yeah, that's true. And I mean, that was another thing, like...
And Batman has clearly been researching a way to fight Kryptonians all this time.
Right, yeah.
That's why he's got the robot suit lying around, and the way, out of their... like, and the ordnance that's way above what you would normally use to fight, crooks and bank robbers.
Right.
And that's why he knows about the That's why it's a twist. That's why the twist works when you find out that never really he was never chasing a drug dealer or anything. He'd been chasing the kryptonite all along, because he's been looking for a way to fight Kryptonians.
And so, yeah. And
so, no, I feel the movie did a fantastic job of establishing this.
Okay. Like, I wanted more, like, screen time devoted to, like, showing, like, why he had such disdain for,
Well,
when you say it, it sounds convincing. Like, okay, massive citywide destruction, yeah, very horrible. But when I'm sitting there watching the movie, I'm like, I don't know. I kind of want a more inside look, I guess, character-wise.
Comic book Batman doesn't even need that much pushing.
Yeah.
It is an established fact that Batman has contingency plans to beat all the Justice League members. And I
forgot about
that. And none of those guys, this is pre-52, but still.
Yeah.
And none of those guys, aside from Superman once in a blue moon when he's been mind-controlled, have ever posed a threat to the Earth.
Yeah.
But he still has a way to beat, Wonder Woman and Manhunter just in case, and even the Flash just in case.
I don't know how.
Yeah, and Wally West is literally the nicest guy you will ever meet.
Yeah.
So that is just Batman. That is always going to be Batman.
Yeah.
In this one, he's just pushed a little farther because Super 9/11.
Right. And I guess it's just kind of the, what I was saying, where it's another thing that I thought they moved too fast through because they shortcutted with, like, Batman's established in people's minds, so we need to do less showing in this particular movie.
It's debatable, but I feel they more than justify. I feel they left enough to your imagination that it works.
Yeah, you can make it work. Like,
I don't even feel like you need to make it work. Yeah. I feel like they left enough context clues that you just can pick up on this stuff.
Yeah.
Also supported by the fact that this is not Bale Batman, who's only been in the crime fighting gig for a couple of years.
Right.
This is old, embittered, like Frank Miller kind of Batman.
Yeah, that's true.
He's lost at least one sidekick. He's seen people die. He's seen people die in horrible ways to alien beings who are far beyond his comprehension. And even though he's been fighting crime for God knows how long, he hasn't made a dent in it. Like, this is a thoroughly beaten down Batman who's just he's gotten a little crazy. He's trying to take what victories he can, and he's trying to do what ultimately he thinks is best for the world.
See, I don't know how they would. I don't know how you would put it in a movie, but, like, if you couldn't because of the time constraints. But, like, in a perfect world, if the movie got it across to people that don't know about superheroes that yes, Batman is this really embittered, jaded guy. This was his life. Then people are like, oh, I get it. He's gotta stop Superman.
But the popular interpretation of Batman is already he's really dark and broody and angry all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
That is, that's not my characterization of Batman, but enough people already really assume that. So
yeah.
It's like how after 7 was out for a few years, people just randomly decided, well, Cloud's like really emo. And then enough fans just went with that assumption, and Square Enix was like, "Oh, okay, sure, why not? Yeah, that's what you guys want." And so they made Advent Children, and Cloud's just like an emo git the whole time, which is completely at odds with his characterization at the end of Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah,
it's just that kind of thing. DC just took advantage of everybody knows this.
Yeah,
we're just going to play.
Everyone's got the headcanon already. Yeah.
So they didn't need to waste movie time showing Batman brooding and talking with Alfred.
Right.
Alfred, I just have to find a way to beat Superman.
We've got to stop him.
God,
he can destroy the planet.
Even when I'm not talking about Bale, I can't stop myself from doing the Batman voice. That's how prevalent the stupid thing has become.
Yeah. So that was. Lest we stay on this forever.
Yeah.
Let's call that hashed, and
right.
I guess get to my next thing, which was in the vein of things not having enough time.
Right.
It seemed like a lot of storylines were introduced and kind of in a shortened form and then cut off. I don't know what you're going to talk about, but I imagine a lot of them are. I imagine a lot of them fall on the side either of world building or of sequel hooks. Okay, yeah. On the smaller side of things, you've got freaking. I don't know. You've got Lex, who again favorite. I loved him, but You are the first person I've talked to. He's so great.
I like Lex.
He's so great because I would love to sit down and just talk about things with him because he he calls a spade and says things the way they are, and he's fantastic. Anyway,
well, you're the first person I've talked to who hasn't been like, now wait a second, I saw a cartoon of Superman 20 years ago, and Lex Luthor was a bald guy in a business suit.
Yeah.
And so I assume that's Lex Luthor, and this Lex Luthor is nothing like that Lex Luthor, and that makes this Lex Luthor a bad Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
And brr, 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 brr. And those people are dumb.
Anyway, like, so, okay, you've got Lex, who they kind of... I don't know, maybe it all just falls under the fact that they crammed in too much in too small a time, but everybody just seemed like their intro was really short. Like, okay, you've got Lex, he's like... It's like, the movie's like, hi, meet Lex. He's a businessman. Look, he's pretty quirky. Like, he doesn't like Superman. And I don't know if they gave a lot of... Again, I don't know if they really explained why he doesn't like Superman other than the fact that he's a little nuts.
No, they explain it perfectly.
Why? What happened?
So Lex is kind of kooky.
Okay.
You meet Lex, he's kind of kooky. He occasionally, like, lapses... He has these moments where he just randomly lapses into, like, rants about power and knowledge.
Yeah, that's why I like
stuff
him,
like that. And he gets... He has that really big lapse at that party that Clark and Bruce meet at, and he actually starts, like, raving a bit before he calms down about knowledge and power. And then he drops a lot of stuff about like God and the devil. And then he pretty much comes out and says it when Superman is confronting him at the towards the end on top of his building. Lex has a firmly established worldview that nothing that is all powerful can be good, and nothing that is good can be all powerful.
He did say that, yeah.
And he established that because his dad was abusive to him. It's very short, but
I thought it. I guess I thought it was just very. They went through it so quick. They were like.
Well, I personally feel they gave just enough attention to this because normally the way a lot of writers will do this is, all right, well, the bad guy was bad because his parents were mean to him, and they'll just leave it at that. But they give you enough to connect the dots, and he actually comes out and kind of says this. But basically, Lex had a shitty childhood. Because of his shitty childhood, Lex gave himself a very firm worldview.
Right.
God is bad. God is powerful. God is bad. Nothing that is powerful can be good. Nothing that is good can be powerful.
Yeah.
He has this firmly established worldview. He's a little nuts. He goes through life with this worldview in place. He becomes powerful and he becomes successful. And by his own worldview, he's probably not a nice guy, even before all this stuff happens.
Yeah.
Superman comes along and completely shatters this worldview just by existing.
Right.
Superman is insanely powerful. Superman is insanely good. Lex cannot stand this.
Yeah,
this is an affront.
It doesn't jive with...
Yeah, this is an affront to his ego.
His universe.
This is an affront to his worldview. This cannot be. So the whole point of his plan was to prove that everybody else is wrong and Lex is right. And this is perfectly within Lex's character, and that's why I loved it.
Yeah,
it is short and succinct, and if you go back through the movie, it's not even me reaching for stuff. It's all there in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, hearing you say it, I was like, yeah, I know that. Yeah, I agree. Like that's exactly what they were doing, but it seemed like when I was watching it, they glossed over it. I wanted them to spend more time on it, a little, I guess, and instead of moving past it so fast.
In a perfect world, but we're pressed for time, and it's already like the 2-hour mark, and nobody's punched each other, or Batman and Superman have yet to begin the punching. So we've got to rush through this character motivation, and like I said, I feel they did an exemplary job, even under the constraints. I mean, I think even like in a movie where they could have had more time, like. This is the perfect way to do it.
Okay.
It is enough characterization where it's not like, look, this is why the character is bad, feel sorry for him, which is what you get in a lot of like superhero movies, a lot of JRPGs, a lot of just really bad media in general.
Yeah.
It gives you just enough to realize, oh, that's why Lex is the way he is, and also realize Lex is still just a really shitty human being. I hope Superman and Batman kick the crap out of him.
Right. And I mean... so just getting to the meat of this, because, other things to talk about. Like, among different things, which, who cares? Like, I was like, okay, I was a little annoyed, and I guess because I, know who is in the Justice League, but I was a little annoyed that if you're going to make a movie called Dawn of Justice,
Uh-huh.
that you just, like, mention the members of the Justice League real quick and then forget about it until like the end. I mean, you threw Wonder Woman in there, okay.
I disagree. And granted, this is another thing a lot of people have contention with.
Yeah.
My take on this is it is purely world building.
Okay.
It is purely just to establish there is a DC universe beyond,
Yeah, and we're going to make more movies with this.
Yeah. But it's just to show you, look, there's other people out there. It's kind of what Marvel was doing, just really, really condensed. Because Marvel would throw allusions to you in their previous movies that the Hulk exists, that Iron Man exists, that Thor exists.
Yeah.
You scientist characters and whatnot pop up in between movies. Doctor Strange got a random message, or got a random acknowledgement in, I think it was Winter Soldier.
Yeah. I mean, it's I guess I could see it being more well placed if, like, at the end of the movie, let's say, they were like, as a kind of an epilogue, maybe they have them finding these other Justice League members' files and something where it's like how when Marvel does it, we're alluding to this, here's some more movies, but they kind of stuck it in the middle with Lex even somehow working this metahuman concept into his, like, kind of worldview, and then right in the middle of the movie you're like, oh neat, metahumans, other Justice League members, might be relevant in some way. And then it's kind of not, but I mean, they put Wonder Woman in there because...
But it is. It's totally relevant.
Okay.
I mean, it's relevant because, Lex's whole beef with Superman is independent from his main thing, where Lex wants to be the most powerful person around. There are metahumans out there who have power. Yeah. Lex has to find a way to deal with them. That's what that was the other deal with Lex getting the kryptonite stuff. Right. He wants to make a silver bullet for Superman.
Right, which he told to the
senator. He even tells them, like, he even tries to scare them with, there are metahumans popping up everywhere. They're going to displace us. We need to figure out a way to deal with them.
Yeah.
So that's why Lex has been doing research on them and has files on the other Justice League members.
Right.
And Batman and Wonder Woman, find out that there are in fact other people out there, and at the end they establish we're gonna go and find these people, and we're gonna make a league for just us.
I guess I thought it was weird that, like, in the middle of the goings on, like, kind of really in the middle of the movie, they stopped and took a long look at each, like, a little video of each member. It's like, oh look, here's Aquaman, here's Cyborg, here's this guy, and it's like, okay, these are all metahumans, but, like, I mean, only Wonder Woman does a thing. Like, maybe it was just the placement, because if they're not going to, like, participate, I think it might have been better done as, like, as a sequel hook towards the end rather than take up time in the middle, which could have been...
No. See, the whole point of that, I mean, I think you kind of missed the point of that.
Okay.
That whole thing was part of Wonder Woman's character arc.
Okay.
Because what we can Wonder Woman had a very short and kind of neglected arc, but I feel it was pretty serviceable. Wonder Woman's whole thing in this movie was she shows up randomly. You don't know who she is, but she is far more capable than she appears,
right?
And she knows things that she shouldn't,
right?
And she kind of scares the crap out of Bruce. Bruce goes and gets the doohickey that she was looking for. He finds out that this woman is actually, if not immortal, then a really long-lived,
right,
warrior princess mythological super being.
Yeah.
And it's my take on these events was that Wonder Woman's been around. Okay, well, Wonder Woman's been around before Batman or Superman. Wonder Woman predates superheroes.
She's at least a century old.
Yeah, she predates superheroes. If she wasn't the first superhero, she was one of the first superheroes in this world.
Yeah.
She did a lot of superheroing, and at some point she apparently just stopped because the most recent picture Batman has of her is in Poland.
Right.
Is in Poland 100 years ago. So my take on this was 100 years ago, and also due to Wonder Woman's speech about how horrible humans are and how you just can't stop them and yada yada. So my take on this was Wonder Woman's doing her superhero thing 100 years ago, probably World War II-ish.
Yeah.
Something really, really horrible happens, and Wonder Woman just loses her drive to be a superhero.
Right.
And she just becomes, Diana Prince.
Yeah.
And she just continues to do that until this movie.
Okay.
And the only reason she's involved in these events at all is because Lex somehow got that picture of her,
figured out who she was,
right? Which would spill the beans on her. So she uses Batman to try and get the picture back.
Right.
Batman instead turns it around on her and uses it as a plea for her to come out of retirement.
Right.
Because he knows that Wonder Woman's out there, and there are also these other guys out there. Shit's going down. And because of that plea to Wonder Woman, at the end when she sees the news report that Doomsday, has appeared and he's wrecking everything,
right.
That's what spurs her on to finally don her costume again.
Yeah.
And, fight the good fight.
Right.
And I thought it was fantastic.
Okay.
Assuming I'm not just reading into all this. Like I'm a writer, I'm an English major,
right.
So this is it's entirely possible, but this is how I interpreted that whole arc. And as an independent story, I feel it works just fine.
I mean, I guess I sort of just wanted, like I was saying, maybe I just wanted more movies. I wanted movies where, how Marvel did it, where they had multiple movies leading up to the culmination of the Avengers. Like, I kind of wanted, like, I want the stuff you're saying be a movie that they show to us that makes this,
We're getting the Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, this is exactly what it's going to cover.
I guess, maybe I just feel like they did it in the wrong order. Like, they could have just done Wonder Woman first and then saved Dawn of Justice.
In a perfect world, yes, but let's be real. Nobody's going to see the fucking Wonder Woman movie if it wasn't for Dawn of Justice.
Oh, I would.
No. I would.
Yeah,
maybe
I would
you
too,
would. But
yeah.
I guarantee you, if they had just done the Wonder Woman movie first, nobody would have seen it.
No, after Superman, they would have.
Nobody knows anything about Wonder Woman aside from the Linda Carter stuff. That is the most recent. That is the most recent thing. Your average person on the street will not even be able to tell you what her gimmick is. They'll be pretty certain that she's really strong. They might have seen her do the bullets and bracers thing on like a Justice League cartoon.
Yeah,
they're not gonna be able to tell you that she's made of clay on the by a bunch of Amazons and was charged to fight to be the ambassador to humanity and to protect them from and then she took it upon herself to protect humanity from monsters, and that nobody knows anything about Wonder Woman because nobody cares about Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Because no studio has put the effort forth to make you care about Wonder Woman. Now that we've gotten the short version, Wonder Woman exists. She has these powers. She's really badass. And then you get to see her fight Doomsday. I guarantee you, tons of people are going to see the Wonder Woman movie.
All right,
it's going to be fantastic.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like
we're just dealing with this was the best DC could do.
and
they did a really good job.
It's like we were saying earlier, right? Like, Thor was maybe kind of on that level where not that well known.
Thor definitely needed to be.
So they gave him the movie, and people saw it, even though it was in the same kind of boat, right? They weren't sure who Thor was, but they went to go see his movie because lightning and a hammer and
people went to go see Thor because Iron Man was a critical darling. Okay. Everybody loved Iron Man. Man of Steel, on the other hand, was very divisive.
Yeah, that's true.
It wasn't a clear out of the park win for DC, and so DC couldn't count on people going, well, Man of Steel was okay, but this other superhero I know nothing about. This one might be pretty good. No.
Okay.
This was the safest way to handle things.
So Iron Man was the launch pad that let Marvel do whatever they want, basically.
Iron Man was such an amazing, absurd, ridiculous, success.
It was very successful.
It was way better than it had. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the movie, but it was way better. Marvel took a huge risk doing Iron Man, and it returned so much more than it had any right to. That it just gave them license to do whatever the hell they wanted. Like,
Okay, yeah.
Nobody would have greenlighted a Captain America movie before Iron Man paved the way, because Captain America falls into that issue of, well, what's his power?
Shield throwing.
He throws shields and punches people. That's not a good superhero. Fuck
he
that.
wears an A on his head.
Like, again, but because, Iron Man was good, Thor was good, and because both movies are, tying to are building this universe, people were like, well, I want to see the next chapter.
Yeah, okay.
So you really are kind of getting into an apples and oranges sort of thing here.
Okay.
Marvel has the time and the money to establish all this stuff. DC's playing catch up to an insane degree. And there just isn't money for.
And I mean, I guess the movie has to suffer for it because
it does. But again, I feel that under the circumstances, they did like far Better than they could have.
Right.
And actually, like not even like in a bad way. Like I feel they did a really good job.
Yeah.
I loved the conclusion of Wonder Woman's arc where she shows up with She shows up to help Batman and Superman fight off Doomsday, and you've got the fucking Trinity. Yeah. And it was like shit's going down. Like that was the best part of the movie, the pose. I really hope that people take down that fucking picture whining about how come Batman has a gun in this picture. Because he's fighting Doomsday.
Yeah.
It's not even. I mean, aside from the fact that it's not even a gun, it just shoots his Kryptonian grenades.
And really,
but I mean, people? We've known that Doomsday was going to be in the movie forever. Did people really expect Batman to just batarang him? He killed Superman.
Yeah, that's the thing. And people were mad. People, just quick sidebar. People were mad that apparently, Batman was going to actually kill Superman, and they're like, Batman doesn't kill people. Like he was going to take the spear and slice his head in half.
Well, that's a two-part thing. That's like two separate issues, but I do want to address both of them.
Okay.
First off, people seriously went into this movie thinking that it was all going to be about Batman and Superman having like a big, conclusive throwdown.
Yeah, some people did.
Like a lot of people
did, yeah.
Like a ridiculous... And it's not even
and
like...
they were all mad that the fight was not, like, very long.
And for years, I've been telling people, no! Why would you think that? Do you not know how superhero fights work? They're going to fight. They're going to go back and forth for a bit. Then they're going to team up and fight a common foe. I bet you anything. I've been telling people this for like 4 years.
Yeah, no, I've heard you say it.
Yeah,
but people, so many people.
Oh yeah, I've said it to you.
So many people just wanted to replace the entire Doomsday fight at the end, with just one long Batman and Superman fight. And then I guess they talk it out like Naruto style at the end or something.
But that's dumb because A, that's not how superhero fights work. B, that's not how you build a franchise. You cannot have a Justice League franchise if Batman or Superman beats the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
If you have one of them decisively win, you can't have them just go, well, okay, we're friends now, and do the Justice League.
Yeah.
Like, that's retarded. And for another thing, and I keep telling people this, it is literally impossible to have a satisfying fight between Batman and Superman. The only way a fight can go down between Batman and Superman is one of two ways. One, Superman has his powers, and he just wins because he's Superman.
Yeah, that tends to be how it goes.
If Superman was fighting seriously, Superman could destroy Batman in any number of ways before Batman even knows he's there. He can zap him from orbit with his heat vision.
Yeah.
He can swoop down faster than Batman can think and just tear his head off.
Yeah.
And any number of variations thereof. He can just vibrate. You can just touch Batman's back and vibrate his molecules and turn Batman into pudding.
Yeah.
He can freeze him. There's so many ways Superman can just end the fight, and they point that out in the movie.
Yeah.
I could have just ended this if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Batman was playing off that because he knew. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's a rant I just need to say. Or B, the other option is Batman somehow negates Superman's powers, and then Batman wins that way. But that's not a fight against Superman.
It's just like okay.
That's just Batman beating up a mild-mannered reporter.
It's like the freaking it's like the Mike Tyson fight.
Yeah,
with Superman, where it's like, okay,
no, it was Muhammad Ali.
Oh, was it Muhammad? Yeah, that was it. It was just like, all right, here, like nobody has powers.
Yeah,
just fight as two regular guys.
Yeah,
and then of course, like Superman loses,
right? Because he's not a boxer. Yeah. And that's my thing. And I feel this fight did a really good middle ground because they kept they kept switching back and forth between he's got powers, he doesn't have powers.
Right.
You know, they gave Batman enough time to karate him to death.
Yeah.
And then Superman would rally and Superman Batman right back.
And it was like both sides of the fence were represented.
Yeah.
Because the people that like Superman because he's Superman are like, oh look, you just broke your hand on his perfect like chin. But then the people who like Batman are like, look, if they actually had to just fight for reals, Batman would totally win.
And these people are missing the point. That if it was for reals, Superman's him to death.
Yeah.
You cannot get... This is not a Goku thing.
Yeah.
Where you can be like, well, Batman would just... No.
Yeah. Like, Goku's like probably the only one that could probably come remotely close, and that's still not even close.
It was just... So those people expecting like the throwdown to be the fight, those people are dumb, and those people shouldn't be complaining. Especially because we've known for a long time that that they cast Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
What the hell did you think Lex Luthor was going to do in the movie?
I mean, I was kind of hoping. I was honestly hoping. I really was that Lex would work with Bruce Wayne to develop that war suit that Batman wore, and that would be the prototype for Lex's own iconic war suit.
Yeah, we actually talked about that like a week or two before the movie came out, and I actually really liked that idea.
Yeah, I thought that would be really cool, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it necessarily... I mean, I would have liked it better. I don't know if it would have objectively been better.
Yeah,
you know,
especially because in the movie, when they revealed that, oh, Lex was sending these messages to Bruce trying to, like, spur him on.
Right.
I was like, oh, maybe there's some collusion. Maybe he's going to be like, hey, Bruce, you want to take this guy down? I built you this sweet war suit. Go get him. And then it's like, yeah, you know.
I mean, I think they wanted to... I mean, granted, that wouldn't have made Batman look as good.
Yeah, okay.
Because it makes him look better if he's, you know, if he's the guy who builds his anti-Superman suit.
Yeah.
You know, it really doesn't help. I mean, it would have been completely useless without the kryptonite stuff. Yeah. But I mean, that's very Batman-y. Like he took a lot of little things together, he made a plan, and it worked. I
was also, on a nitpicking note, I was also really kind of hoping that instead of, you know, exposing Superman to kryptonite, bringing him down to human levels, I was just kind of hoping that the war suit would be powered by kryptonite and kind of elevate Batman to more godlike status, and then we have more of this high production value, we're kind of pinballing around the city type fight.
Yeah, you also suggested that in that same conversation, and I really liked that. And I was kind of bummed that they didn't go that route.
I thought it would be kind of this middle ground where, because it's kryptonite powered, the aura brings Superman down a bit, but the tech brings Batman up a bit, and then we've got more of a kind of a Hulk and Thor dynamic fight going on.
Yeah, but I mean, within the context of the movie, the theme at work here is man versus God.
Right.
And so, you know, that's more in your scenario, that's man becoming God.
Right.
You know,
that's true.
Whereas in this scenario, you're
dethroning the God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bruce is playing the role of Lucifer, and he's trying to dethrone God.
Right.
And it worked way better than I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
Like that was. I especially loved his line, like right after he douses Clark with the kryptonite. He has his line like, you know, you're afraid now.
Yeah.
You know, you were never brave. You know, only men are brave.
Yeah, that was
like,
cool.
It's a really dick thing to say.
But it was kind of great.
It's really cool, and also I like that the movie even has a thematic answer to that because in the end, Superman is the one who makes the decision to take the kryptonite spear and to go and kill Doomsday, knowing he was going to die in the process.
Yeah.
So that is the thematic answer to Batman. No, you know, anybody can be brave. Superman can make the decision to be brave.
Yeah.
And it was done in a way that doesn't diminish either character.
I agree. Yeah.
It was a really cool way of handling it. Although, fucking, that spear. Like, I like, don't get me wrong, I like the spear. I don't like the little niggling part of me that is fully aware, like, hey, look, more Jesus analog. Jesus was stabbed with a spear. Batman makes a spear so he can kill Jesus, and look, he's stabbing him just like Jesus in a church. You see the Bible analogies? Like,
they tried really hard.
I can't stand that shit.
They tried really, and I thought they were going to run with it, but they didn't.
They didn't, and that's what made it even weirder. Because the rest of the movie, it's Lex doing his ranting about gods and demons, and you're just like, well, that's just Lex.
I could just listen to Lex all day. I want to eat lunch with him.
Jesse Eisenberg did a really good job.
Yeah, I want to shake his hand and
I liked him a lot.
Yeah.
For the people who didn't like Lex, I do want to point out that this is not Lex Luthor. This is Lex Luthor Jr., aka Alexander Luthor, who is an entirely different character in the comics.
Ah.
Yeah, he is an entirely separate character, except for the time when Lex Luthor made him up and then pretended to be him. Well, no, it was important because by doing that, he was able to convince Superman he was a good guy, and then he was also able to bone Matrix, who was alien shape-shifting robot Supergirl.
Huh.
So the dude had his priorities, in order.
All right.
Yeah. But,
so anyway,
getting off that.
We both liked the movie.
Yeah.
I thought it had a bunch of stuff wrong with it, but it was probably largely due to freaking the studio having to play catch up.
Yeah.
And not being able to do it entirely correct because you got to jump in the ring with the big dogs, I guess. And as a quick last topic before we wrap this up, I do want to talk about the ending. Okay. Well, I want to do a rapid fire through the nitpicky stuff.
Oh, okay.
But go on.
Sure. Well, it sounded like you were wrapping up.
No, so. I wanted to move past.
Oh, okay.
The stuff that I thought was just wrong with it as a movie on its own, and into the nerd crap.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, which is fast.
Just let me gush about the ending.
Okay, go
really quick.
Yeah.
Because I fucking adored the ending.
All right.
The ending was goddamn perfect. See, because my problem with Man of Steel, ultimately, and I'm pretty sure I've said this to you, but my problem with Man of Steel is that Superman is a character who is fundamentally about hope.
Okay.
He is a character who inspires other people, and it's Superman's unwavering hope and optimism that makes him the character he is. No matter what horrible things Superman sees, no matter how many times he has to save people from their own stupidity and their own bigotry and their own hatred, Superman always believes that people can be better. And that's why my favorite comic panel in the entirety of Superman's run was when Superman was about to die because of space sickness. Go with it. It was the 70s.
Okay.
But before he dies, Superman uses heat vision and he inscribes on the moon, do good and every man can be a Superman. And then he signs it Clark Kent.
Oh,
and
nice.
Then he dies. And it's just a wonderful... It perfectly encapsulates what Superman is about. He's about inspiring people to be better people. You don't need superpowers. You just need to want to help other people.
Okay.
Man of Steel completely missed all of that. Man of Steel was dark, both thematically and literally.
Yeah.
It was gritty, both thematically and literally.
Yeah.
There was a lot of dirt and sand.
I mean, I thought that this... we didn't touch on it, but... I thought this was a little dark and gritty, but...
It was, but I'm going to tie this together. Let me push through this before I get on too many tangents.
Okay.
So, Man of Steel was insanely depressing,
Yeah.
Superman was just really listless the whole, almost the entire movie.
He somehow turned out to be a really good guy, even though he had the crappiest upbringing of all time.
His parents were horrible.
Yeah.
Because the Kents are the reason that Superman turns out to be the amazing person he is. Yeah. Not amazing because of superpowers, amazing in spite of his superpowers.
Right.
His parents raised him to be, just the nicest person ever, the most helpful and optimistic and wonderful person ever. Yeah. Despite the fact that he just decide to murder everybody if he wanted.
Right.
So the Kents are fundamental to Superman's moral compass, which is in turn fundamental to the character. Man of Steel Kents are horrible people because his mom and dad both spend his entire life just saying, just don't use the superpowers. Just be a normal person.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill myself just to spur you to not do anything with these powers. Otherwise, it'll totally invalidate this stupid sacrifice I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And then he goes off and walks into a tornado. The fuck. So, Man of Steel, and then he kind of starts getting some of that hope back, and then it all just gets smashed because of the whole Superman has to kill Zod at the end.
Yeah.
Which I don't feel that ruined the movie. That's another discussion entirely.
Yeah, they put him in a no-win scenario,
right? And whether or not you feel that was a good or a bad decision, movie-wise, which is an entirely different discussion.
Yeah,
that really does diminish Superman's spirit. And so, in this movie, they finally gave Superman the chance to be the hero that he's supposed to be.
Right.
He spends the entire movie taking crap from people just for being Superman. He's not even doing anything really bad. He's just It's that mob mentality.
It's It's the really really rehashed like you caused collateral damage.
Yeah.
Now we've got to put you under the microscope. Like,
right. And I mean all that stuff is good, but to give the broad overview and to finally try to get to what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So Superman goes through a lot of horrible things in this movie, and they really handled it because it wasn't about Superman having to fight a foe he couldn't beat. It was about Superman struggling with his internal problems, which is really at the core of all the really good superhero. Which is really the core of any good Superman story.
Okay,
that's how you do it. That's how you do a story about a character who can do anything. Superman. Despite all the horrible things, Superman is still Superman. He fights Batman. He does not just end the fight right off the bat. He still tries to appeal to Batman's morality. Batman tries to kick the shit out of him. They have their big throwdown fight. Batman is clearly going to win the fight because Superman let it go on too long.
Yeah.
And so instead of at that point, Superman just gives up on trying to win the fight and just appeals to Batman's better half. Just save my mom.
Yeah.
That is the Superman moment. And very, very minor tangent. Holy shit, that was brilliant.
Yeah, that was cool.
It has never occurred to me somehow in all
their
the years.
Moms had the same name.
That has never occurred to me in the many years I've been reading comics. And when they said it, I was like, oh my god, that's perfect. It perfectly jives with both of their characters.
Yeah.
It is the perfect way to end this fight and to make Batman sympathetic to him without making it an ass.
A lot of people complained about it. I thought it was really great.
It was fucking brilliant.
It was. I mean, I guess coming from the standpoint of knowing who Batman is, like, I get that, like, okay, that would get past his, like, kind of psychological, like, wall, and, it would pierce through the, like, persona of Batman, who's the criminal, who hunts other criminals,
right,
and get to, like, the heart of the person who's actually trying to do good.
Right. Exactly. That's the moment that redeems Batman.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
And then it's just that moment is what totally turns the movie around and makes everything awesome. Batman and Superman become kind of friends. Batman goes off. He's finally fighting for somebody else. He's not just fighting crime because it's evil or because he's mad. He's actively trying to save somebody. He has that really awesome throwdown with all those crooks.
Yeah.
And it's awesome because it's an actual fight. It's not like every other Batman media where he just like ninjas around a room and makes a bunch of people like fall over.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like it's a really he breaks in and he just has this really crunchy fight where people hit him. And he, in turn, gets hit. But then he rallies and beats their asses.
I also forgot that the actual, like, head part of his uniform was also bulletproof.
Yeah.
Because, like, when the guy shot him point blank in the back of the head, I had, like, a double take. I'm like, wait, did you just, like, shrug that off? Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it hurts. It hurts like a bitch because Kevlar,
exactly.
It still leaves a bruise in real life. But,
yeah, it does, yeah.
But yeah, so, and then that leads to the Doomsday fight, which is awesome, but then it also leads to Superman realizes the only way to beat Doomsday is to take this kryptonite spear, stab him, and probably die in the process. And Superman makes the decision to do that because he's Superman. He can't ask anybody else to die for him. He has to do it. It's the most heroic thing he's been able to do in either of these movies.
Yeah.
He does it. He dies. It's fucking beautiful.
And and that is why, like, that's why I liked the movie. That's why you liked the movie. That's why Superman is cool and Batman is slightly less of a douche than he was.
Well, I also feel that it doesn't diminish Batman because Batman recognizes what Superman did.
Yeah.
And he is, and like I said, Batman is inspired by Superman's example to become a better person himself, and he rededicates himself to being a superhero, not just a vigilante. He recruits Wonder Woman. They're going to run off and make the Justice League, and they're going to make the bestest superhero team that isn't the JSA ever, and because the JSA is always going to be the best superhero team, but they're going to make this big, fantastic superhero team, and they're going to start addressing the problem, not just the symptoms of the problem. And then there's that beautiful funeral where they play Amazing Grace, and they have the two funerals, and it's
like, why bagpipes though?
Because that's tradition. Because they said in the movie they didn't know how to treat Superman, so they gave him a soldier's death.
Oh, okay. So, anyway, since we've gone on about this, and I think talked a lot about things and done a good job of this, let's just kind of, to finish up, like, rapid fire through the nitpicky stuff that I thought didn't jive with the comic books.
Okay, sure.
So let me see. I thought, all right, all the questions in the world. Okay, so, I mean, why do you think they had Doomsday be the Zod Lex baby instead of? Because
actual Doomsday is too stupid and complicated to establish.
Okay.
Doomsday was a Kryptonian baby that a random scientist abducted and put on this death world and watched die. Then he would take the baby's corpse and then he would bring it. He would resurrect it with science, and then he would send it back out into the death world and let it die again. And he did that over and over and over 80 trillion times and eventually the baby started like growing more resilient after every death and resurrection. And eventually he did it enough times that he just ended up with Doomsday, this big unstoppable Hulk-like thing.
Okay, I mean, it just reminded me of how freaking in every Fantastic Four movie they can't just let Doctor Doom be how he was supposed to be. Yeah. He's always some dumb guy that had metal fused to his skin and has electromagnetic powers.
Right.
And it's like...
But Doom really loses out in the deal because Doom really does have a lot more nuance. Doomsday really doesn't, because even though Doomsday has a really like complex origin, there really isn't a whole lot to him. He's just a big Hulk-like guy who breaks shit. So the easiest way to do it was, you've got a Kryptonian body that's already superpowered.
Yeah.
Let's just make it like a crazy monstrosity abomination.
Yeah.
And let it run wild. And it did, and it gave us a really good fight.
Okay, next thing. Who was that? Was that supposed to be Flash and his dumb sucking into that portal in his dream?
I think so.
But why would he even have a dream about the Flash before he found the files about the Flash?
Well, because it was Flash from the future. Flash can time travel.
But can he go into your dreams?
No. Like, I mean, I'm assuming there's like a Flashpoint kind of thing going on where eventually the timelines get all screwy and Flash has to do something about it. Maybe Flash will have an individual movie about that kind of thing.
And it was weird because assuming that was Flash came to him in his dream to tell him he was right and that he needed to kill Superman because he was like justifying.
But that was a timeline that's been displaced. It's obviously not going to happen because Superman isn't going to become a dictator at this point.
But it's just weird that they would stick that in and like.
I'm assuming it's.
I was just completely like, what even is that and why is it here? I didn't know any reason.
Yeah, I figured it's not. It wasn't a dream so much as like phantom memories of like a timeline that's being ousted, for lack of a better word. I mean they'll go in and explain it more in further movies, but
yeah,
when you get right down to it, the whole purpose of that dream was to give them footage of Superman looking like an evil dictator.
That dream pissed me off.
So that they could put it in the marketing and make it look like, oh shit, Superman's going to turn evil and Batman's going to have to fight him because
those like Superman Nazis too with the little.
I couldn't stand that because I thought that's actually because they presented it like this is why Batman's surviving Superman.
Yeah,
and I was mad because I thought that this is insanely out of character. This is retarded. There's no way that you can write a good story with that. And it was true because that has no bearing on the movie. And I actually had to explain that same thing to Amber because when I said no, you didn't see it. Well, she's like, well, how come it looks so much like Red Sun? Like, it's going to suck. And I said, no, that was all just a dream. Like, they just took the scenes and put them in the marketing. And she was like, what? That's fucking dumb. Why would they do that? I wasn't going to see the movie at all. So,
okay.
Bad marketing.
All right, last couple of things. I thought that while Kryptonians had a mild healing factor, mortal wounds were still mortal. And...
Kind of?
he
really?
broke Zod's neck, and Zod was dead.
Right.
Because breaking your neck kills you.
Right.
You get stabbed through your lung and your heart, and you die because that kills you.
Right.
So, is that not a thing? Like, wait, can Kryptonians die to, like, mortal wounds or not?
Well, they can, but you're forgetting that Superman, that this is a rehash, this is kind of a rehash, updated retelling of the death and rebirth of Superman.
Yeah.
And that second word is the part that should concern you here. In the comic books, what happens is Superman dies, and then a bunch of replacement Supermans show up and take his place, and trying to trick people into thinking that they are like the real Superman.
Right.
What actually happens while this is going on is that one of the Supermen, the Eradicator, is actually a Kryptonian robot, whose sole purpose is to preserve, Krypton.
Okay.
Preserve as much as he can of Kryptonian culture, including the last Kryptonian. So the last son of Krypton.
Okay.
I was trying to remember what the moniker was. So, at some point, he jacks Superman's body from the cemetery, and he puts it in a Kryptonian healing matrix. And the healing matrix basically starts, like, feeding Superman huge concentrated bursts of solar energy in an attempt to bring him back to life. And it's confirmed that it would have worked eventually, but shit happens, and they don't have 1,000 years to wait for that to work properly.
Okay.
So the Eradicator ends up having to sacrifice himself to make Superman come back to life properly, and Superman does come back, and then he's reborn.
Okay, so I guess it's Kryptonians just kind of have anti-death tech.
Kind of.
And that's a thing that they've just gotten to that point.
And in fact, this actually happens again because Superboy Prime kills post-Crisis Superboy. That's Connor Kent, the one from the Young Justice cartoon. And secretly, Tim Drake Robin puts Superboy in that same sort of Kryptonian healing matrix.
Yeah.
And then much, much, much later, Superboy Prime comes back and starts fucking things up. And their plan is to have Impulse, the Flash of the future, send him into the future. And the reason he does that is because in the future, thousands of years have gone by, and it's just enough time for the healing matrix to have done its thing. And Connor Kent comes back to life and kicks his ass, or helps kick his ass.
It's really kind of getting a bit like Naruto with the...
No, it's not.
With the death and the Kryptonian, because...
Next question.
I thought they could die if you actually killed them.
They could. But
I didn't think they could come back, by technology.
They all died, except for Superman. And the other surviving Kryptonians. Yeah. It's like the Saiyans. They're all dead except the ones who aren't.
Except the ones that got away, yeah.
Although, to be fair, a lot of the surviving ones are in the bottled city of Kandor, which was taken by Brainiac before, Krypton exploded anyway. So
okay, so...
It's better justified.
Last nitpick.
Uh-huh.
Assuming that he actually died there, and they put him in the coffin...
Right.
The only way I know that Kryptonians bullcrap their way back from the dead has to do with the sun. So, what do you think? They're going to, dig him up and launch him into the sun? Or how's he going to come back if he's buried?
No, it's
presumably away from all sunlight.
It's going to be simpler than that. Somebody's going to jack his corpse and put him in the ship, the healing ship.
Okay, but I thought that...
The ship has already explained that it can't bring something back to life after so many days... But this is a superhero franchise. They're going to find some way to justify that he can come back to life through the... It's already basically serving the same purpose as the healing matrix from the comics.
Yeah.
So they're clearly going to use that ship and some loophole to bring him back to life.
I would have thought that...
I guarantee you that's what's going
on.
on.
I would have thought that, except for that... They did a dumb little Inception thing at the end, where they showed the top spinning and have it wobble. You remember that?
Yeah.
They did a stupid thing where the dirt started like floating,
yeah.
Which means some crap was already happening in that coffin, presumably, where he was somehow Wolverining back.
Time travel.
Is that what you're going with?
Well, I mean, that's usually the answer to this. Whoever they have in the future. In the comics, it's usually the Legion of Superheroes.
Right. The future that's predicated on Superman not being dead Flash has to come fix it.
Yeah. Or or like Flash or somebody is going to like come back in time, grab the corpse, take it to like the future where they have better tech that could just bring you back to life.
Yeah. So the dirt floating was the like, wormhole like opening
probably
from some guy from the future. Okay.
Or they could always do the much simpler solution, whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow solution, where he's not dead, he just faked his death, for the betterment of everyone else, and then just went off to pump Lois full of kids and not have superpowers.
Anyway, so I don't know. I guess it just kind of bugged me that like
the answer is superheroes.
Yeah, it just kind of bugged me that like death is deadly except when it isn't.
It doesn't diminish the fact that it was a great ending.
Regardless. No, it was cool, and we know he was not going to be dead because he never stays dead in the comics anyway.
Right. Like he didn't stay dead the one time.
Right.
People really blow it out of proportion. Superman's died one time.
Well, yeah,
it was a big thing.
Okay, but I mean, anyway.
But yeah, so.
Anyway, that was that.
That was that.
In summary, like, I liked the movie. I thought it was a good movie. It kind of suffered because they didn't have the luxuries that Marvel had. But...
Right. I love the movie. I agree that it had some things it could have done better, but I don't have... Apparently, I'm just better at picking up plot points than Evan is.
Yeah, I guess. I mean... I just don't read into things. I kind of take with what's given to me and ask for more.
I feel this is the best DC movie probably since the original Christopher Reeve Superman movie. I think I'm gonna say this is probably my best my favorite my favorite DC movie in a long time.
I agree that this is my favorite DC movie.
Yeah. Fuck the Nolan movies.
Yeah.
And I think this movie did a great job with all the pitfalls the creators had to deal with. I think all the actors were stellar. I really like I really like these versions of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, even though a lot of people are complaining, like, oh, they're Elseworlds versions, they're not the real characters, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Like...
They have the core stuff in.
Go see it because it's superheroes fighting with, a lot of destruction and action
But more than that, it's superheroes actually being superheroes. And that's my thing for why I really like this movie.
Yeah.
I wish I'd figured that out sooner so I could have gone on about it.
but
whatever. Superheroes being superheroes, go see it.
Anyway, we're saved. Yes, go watch it. Later, guys.
Later.
We'll be fine. Hey, is this always going to weaken you as much?
I don't know. I've never driven Ahriman from a land before.